Okay, I thought I'd record a little video just to show a really interesting bug that I introduced into my game while I'm still writing various bits of it. I'll just pause it here. Um, so I'm doing, I'm in the middle of building like a little sprite object manager and hooking all that up to my scrolling viewport code. So what I'm doing is I'm messing with the title screen, and I'm reworking how my bike object works and everything. So at the minute, all I've got is a square, which is the back wheel of the bike. I haven't rejigged the rest of it yet. Um, but what you're witnessing here is the bike, or the back wheel of the bike, is moving along the screen. And what happens is when it gets to the center or near the center, the viewport then starts moving with it. So what happens is you see the stuntman characters come onto the screen. They're not moving, they're actually in a fixed X position. And the fact that I'm moving the viewport along with the bike, so the bike looks like it's not moving, but actually it is moving. And then that allows me to go past scenery and whatever else I'm going to put on the title screen. And ultimately, I'm doing that so I can scroll me buses at the bottom of the screen, but I've got sidetracked a little bit. Right, so if I just carry on playing this, you'll see the effect that I noticed. And I was doing this last night, I was a bit tired. Oops, press the wrong button. Oh, let me restart it. Go back. Right, so you'll see the square move, and then the viewport moves with it, and then the stuntman scrolls in. But watch what happens in a second. The bike wheel decides to start moving on a sine wave, and then it comes back to normal. So this was actually quite confusing. I was thinking, why is that happening? And what I realized eventually when I started looking at the code, so I was staring at this for ages without looking at the code, and I was thinking, what is going on there? That's impossible. I'm not going to be able to debug that. It's going to be right swine. But then I went and had a look at my drawing code. So the bite is being drawn independently, but I'm drawing all the stuntman characters through a list of connected objects. And that's what code I've got here. Now, at the start of each object, I reset the beam to the center so that I can position relatively to the center. And if I just show you that again, running. Oh, hang on, put it on the right one. The bite wheel is fine until the very last character comes on. That's the trick. So the end comes on, it starts throwing it, and you think, what? So you look at your code, and you look at it and you say, well, I'm zeroing the vector beam, and I'm drawing all my letters. But the way that I've set this code up, because I haven't thought about this properly, is even if I don't draw one of the objects, because it's not on screen, I'm zeroing the vector beam. And the N is the last object I'm drawing. Now, what that means is there is obviously a problem with how I'm drawing the bite wheel. Now, ignoring that for a minute, the bite wheel is drawn straight after the title objects. Okay, now what's happening is it's moving relative to the N. So what I'm obviously not doing is I'm not positioning the bike wheel from the center. I'm positioning it relative to N because I've been stupid. So I can fix that by just doing this, but it was one that had me thrown a little bit. If I just run it now, you'll see that it works properly. But it was really throwing me without looking at the code. And I really do need to get my head out around everything's relative. I'm starting to understand the vector X a little bit better now, but it is all this relative positioning, unless you zero the beam. And the relative thing's quite cool actually, because it allows you to do things with little work, duplicate objects and things like that. But it can be annoying if you forget to do it. That's quite stupid, really. So I'm just thought that was quite interesting. It's just one of those things that's really tricky unless you know what you're doing in your code. Just because I'm doing that, so it's obviously highlighted something where I don't need to do that. I mean, that's not a very expensive set of instructions anyway, but I probably don't need to do it if I'm not going to draw. And I don't do the drawing until I get right down here, so I could actually move that code down here, and that would be a little bit more useful to me. But if I hadn't found that bug, I wouldn't have realised I had this stupid inefficiency. I'd have just left it until I started trying to optimise. But there you go. I thought that was interesting. You probably think it's really not interesting.